Well, to answer the questions, it's Metasepia. There you go. Thank you, everyone. My name is David Watkins. I also have in the crowd somewhere Carrie Brown, who is the founder, chief technology officer, and sort of the big brain behind the company. A couple things up front. We actually went live on Start Engine several hours ago, some number of hours ago, so you actually can invest in us now. There's also a 10% early bird discount if you want to take advantage of that. The company itself, Metasepia, is an image management platform for mobile fintech. So if you think back earlier in the day, image management platform sounds a lot like Kodak One. And there are a number of similarities, whereas Kodak One, their model is to allow consumers to license their images to others using their technology. What we're doing is allowing consumers to use their personal photos and images for retail transactions. So that's the mobile fintech. So what we allow you to do is take your image and use it for a personalized mobile in-store transaction. So the simple example would be if you have Starbucks, almost everybody does, and you go into Starbucks and you use your app to buy the phone, you see that sort of ugly little barcode at the bottom. Well, what we allow you to do through our technology is we'll let you use any image you want to use for that transaction. A picture of your kids, a picture of your cat, not my cat, I hate my cat, but whatever is important to you is for that transaction. Now, on the one hand, that's actually pretty cool. Everybody says, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. But beyond the cool factor is what we found in the marketplace is, looking at what Forrester Research has said, merchants who simply attempt to convert mobile moments into mobile payment moments will fail to reach the minimally viable customer experience for lasting adoption and use. What the heck does that mean? Basically, what it says is retailers need to build engagement, loyalty with their customers in a competitive environment. Conversely, those merchants who seamlessly embed the payment in that mobile moment itself will win with mobile payments. What we want to do is facilitate the engagement with the audience at the purchase or at the transaction point. Even the fintech guys are starting to understand this now. Bill Reddy, COO of PayPal, the rapid adoption of mobile technology is redefining the face of retail and creating new opportunities to bring consumers and merchants closer together. That's what Metasepia is trying to do. So today, a current solution, whether you're going into Walmart, Target, Starbucks, Pete's, you'll have a non-distinct, generic, and reasonably insecure, that you may have gotten an email, barcode, QR code to do your transaction. With Metasepia, with your application, what you can do is you can pick your image that you want to use as part of that transaction. Now within that, when you actually assign your image that you want to use, this is an example of the Prism toolbox where you can actually add serialized colored pixels. And actually in those serialized colored pixels is all the data for your transaction. So it's a very simple to use platform that we're building, but what it does is gives you a unique, personal, and secure transaction at retail. So our solution, we're actually Carrie has developed several patents. We have several utility patents issued already. We're using blockchain security underneath this for the transaction management. There's a couple key advantages to using the serialized color pixel. One, it's actually a reduced data element. We need a very small amount of space within the image to actually store that data payload. In addition, because you're using serialized pixels, we can actually have a lot more data stored on that image. In the longer term, we'll be able to use various layers within the photos to make it completely transparent to the user as to how the data is being stored. But by using that mechanism, we can have much increased dynamic data payload for each secure transaction. There's a number of benefits to that. On the aesthetic side, you get to use your personal images to do your transactions. Because we have a lot more data that's stored within those images, we can support, and merchants can support, much broader programs for loyalty, for other types of incentives, coupons, discounts. And so it creates a much richer environment that we can deliver to the merchants to engage with their customers. On the back end side, you've got the visual authentication. It's your images. And user preferences for how you want to use those images at your transactions. As I mentioned, we are using the blockchain security, and we've got 3 utility patents already filed. One of the nice things about the platform is it just works with the existing infrastructure. This is just a simple example of the Visa transaction protocol. Our token service provider server interacts directly with the retailer system. So it changes nothing within the transaction flow today. First Data doesn't need to know about it. Visa doesn't know about it. It's a simple interaction between us and the retailer to allow their consumers to use these new technologies. From a market perspective, it's pretty obvious that the number of people that are using their phone for mobile transactions is growing rapidly. I used it 4 or 5 times already today to get here, to get downtown, to get through the airport, et cetera. QR codes and barcodes are the fastest growing portion of that. What we want to do is take those nondescript QR codes and barcodes and turn them into visual icons that people want to use when they're doing their transactions. So the adoption drivers for us are social media personalization, plus the fact that the cost of updating and moving forward fintech apps is moving very, very quickly. And with the frequent improvements in things like cameras and the way that images are stored, we can continue to add more capabilities to the platform as we go forward. Our revenue model is pretty simple. We license our service provider enterprise server to merchants for them to build this into their system. We will then get a subscription for those, and then we can add on to them or integrate into those programs for them any loyalty programs they want to offer. And then on the back end side, when people actually use the transaction, we'll have a very small transaction fee as part of that for the usage of that transaction. We're talking 0.25% kind of transaction fee, because that's actually relatively common for the merchants today. The primary competition for us is barcodes and QR codes. Very insecure, very boring, not very interesting, and certainly the ability to give you the ability to use your images for those transactions is something we think both retailers and consumers will want to do. Snapchat does have a token for scanning, but it only allows you to have a very small image just in the middle of the screen. And then Alibaba is working on some technologies, but it's highly pixelated. It's not custom images. It's not nothing that you would necessarily view as something that's part of your daily life. So our personalized tokens will give a vibrant display to communicate secure payments. We use the blockchain, and then again, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of similarities to what Kodak One is doing, but we're doing it for a different application in the fintech segment. These are some of the folks that are highly engaged with building these types of applications. When you talk about Walmart having installed on 10 million machines, Starbucks having 42% of their store visitors are using their phones for these transactions, those are the kinds of companies that we want to engage with to build our transaction base. Sephora is another one that wants to build strong customer interactions, loyalty, engagement every time you're in the store or doing a transaction. Most of what we're doing in 2018 is finalizing the fundraising, building our investor base. One of the reasons we want to do this is to build an investor user base that as we start going to partners in the marketplace, we already have a base of users familiar with the platform that are interested in using it and using it at places like Starbucks, Walmart, et cetera. Next year is primarily development of the blockchain, the alpha deployment of the toolbox and the server, and then we'll release to customers in late 2019, early 2020, betas for them to start rolling out, and then revenue generation after that. The team is primarily comprised of myself. I've done a number of companies. Activision, Symantec, Borland, as well as some other startups more recently. Carrie was who's our CTO co-founder, also co-founded Vivotech, which is if you ever do the PayPass technology where you use your chip in the card to just touch, most of that technology was developed and rolled out by him. And then our technology partner, Cryptomathic, is doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes technology around the blockchain and our cryptography. In addition, Torben Peterson is Chief Security Architect for both Cryptomathic and working with us. And there's a little bit of information on Cryptomathic. So thank you for your time. As I mentioned, we're live on Start Engine now, so we'd love to have you both as an investor and a user of the platform. Thank you.